The Swan Princess Far Longer Than Forever is a sequel to the original Swan Princess movie, animated movie from 1994, and a direct sequel to the last direct to video animated Swan Princess movie, The Swan Princess, A Fairy Tale is Born. So, like I said, this is a direct sequel to the last Swan Princess movie, and I believe it's the last one before they deciding to reboot the series. I want to say this is either the 12th or 10th in the line of the Swan Princess movies, and it kind of has this long history, and I think they're wanting to reboot it or maybe remake the first one so it's easier to access for a new generation without all this, baggage and everything. So in the last movie, if you haven't watched it, which I have a review for it out on my channel, told the story of Queen Alberta as she became queen and how she learned to process or become a good queen, and eventually it ends with Princess Odette and Prince Derek becoming king and queen of their country. And the movie ends with supposedly something about Derek's dad potentially being alive and pirates, and it kind of ends a little bit on a cliffhanger, which I didn't enjoy in the last movie. But this movie picks up, like I said, directly after, where Odette and Derek are now king and queen, and they take their position in the Council of Crowns, which is this organization made up of a bunch of kings and queens who work together to make their countries better. And they decide that, someone in this organization must know something about Derek's dad because they want to find out what exactly happened to him. They were just told that his dad wanted to work with pirates, and he went along with the pirates and ended up being murdered, and he was a traitor. So that's what a lot of people believe. So Derek thinks there has to be more, that there's no way he would do that. And him and Odette decide to figure out what happened. So they go to the Council of Crowns to figure that out, and that leads them to believe that there's something fishy going on, and they spend the rest of the movie trying to figure out what happened to his dad by going undercover as magicians. So this movie is okay. It's a direct-to-video animated movie, so the budget is just, it's probably very low, enough for them to actually make the movie. The animation, I think, is CGI animated, and I think it looks okay. That's what I said in my last review. It's passable. I don't think there's anything severely wrong. It does a lot good, but it's just decent 3D CG animated movie, direct-to-video stuff. Nothing super impressive. Again, they have a low budget, so you can only expect so much. So I think the animation is fine. But in my last review, I said the thing that really matters with these low-budget movies is the story. Even if the animation isn't the best, super Disney quality or whatever you want to call it with millions and millions of dollars, if it has a good story, then it makes for a good movie. And this movie has an okay story. I'm on the fence if I like it more or less than the last movie. I had a lot of problems with the last movie, and I think I was a little bit harsh on it. I gave it a 4 out of 10, which is a lot lower. When I was watching this movie, I thought I had given it a 6 out of 10, and this new movie, I give a 5 out of 10. Because again, I think I was a little harsh on the last one, but this one's pretty serviceable. It's, I think, a little bit more focused, where in the last one, we kind of start off in the past and slowly make our way to the future, so I felt like it felt a little disjointed. This one's a little bit more straightforward, but it's not a very interesting story. I think it could have made for a very interesting story, but it just wasn't, it doesn't click, it didn't click for me. Like I said, it's just a basic story of them trying to figure out what happened to Derek's dad. It's a little predictable. A lot of the things that I thought was going to happen in this movie, I figured out after watching the last movie when they were like, well, his dad was captured or killed by pirates. And I'm like, okay, So the movie is a little basic. I think it's a little bit better than the last one. I'm going to go ahead and say I like this one a little bit better than the last one. Even though the idea for the last one is better in my opinion, or could have worked better, and I think would have made a better finale for this series. I think this one just feels more cohesive. So that's what I'm gonna say. I like this one a little bit better. So, like I said, the story really isn't there. There's parts that I do enjoy, but it's a very basic story of them doing detective work and going under disguise. But at times it feels unfocused. I think one of the problems with this movie and the other movie that I watched is that they try to focus on these weird kind of jokes and everything that don't really work, in my opinion. It's just like, okay, well, there's this landlady who's super nosy, and I think they focus a little bit too much on her. I'm like, I think we could have done without this character and just focus on the actual story. They don't take it too seriously. It's a little, it's lighthearted. This movie's made for a younger audience, so. But I think that's one of my qualms with this movie is like this is supposed to be the finale of this series before they reboot it or whatever they want to do next in the future. And the last movie, I felt like it could have been a perfect place to end it without them bringing the mystery of Derek's dad into it. And the ending of this movie does kind of work. It's a happily ever after moment and a feel good moment, in my opinion, for the most part. But it doesn't really feel like the final movie. It's like they, in the last movie, they wanted to bring up Derek's dad, even though I think people just assumed that he was dead, and just bring him into the story somehow. And that's what they do, but it doesn't work like a big finale. It just kind of works as a standalone movie where potentially there could be more. It's not the end all to be all. So like I said, this is a fine movie. I do recommend it if you love the Swan Princess series. This is like your finale with these characters before they get rebooted and changed somehow or whatever. And it's on Netflix right now, so if you have Netflix, you can go watch it. Like I said, a 5 out of 10. It's a fine movie, direct to video, so, there's only really so much you can expect with these movies a lot of the time. But it does what it needs to do, which makes it work as a movie. So, I'm going to talk spoilers really quick, so if you haven't watched the movie, go check it out. So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So, like I said in the beginning of the movie, they go to investigate what happens to Derek's dad. And through a lot of, tracking people down who were there during the incident, even though it was like 30 years ago, and a lot of these people should probably be dead or really old or gone, they figure out that his dad was taken by a pirate named Flamebeard, I think it was his name, and one of the kings, who ends up being King Isaac, who is the head of the Council of the Crowns. They set up Derek's dad because King Isaac was afraid that he was going to take his spot as the head of the council and he didn't want that to happen because his mom was the head of the council before, so he teamed up with the pirates to get rid of all the other pirates and just let them roam free if they got rid of the king. So they ended up kidnapping him and they put him on a little boat and they sent him to Unescapable Island, which is a little on the nose name. And everyone says that no one ever comes back from Unescapable Island, so it's assumed that he died. So, like I said, they eventually figured all this stuff out, and it comes out what happened. And King Isaac, I think he's arrested. I don't think they show it, or maybe I blinked and they did show it real quick. But a lot of the people involved with King Derek's disappearance are arrested and put in jail. But then, as we go on, like the last 12 minutes of the movie, Prince Derek decides to go to the island to see if his dad is there or to retrieve his body because he's like, I want my dad to be buried in his home with his people. So he goes to the island, which is a little wonky because he goes to this island and it looks like a normal island and everything, but he passes like through this veil, like this magic veil for some reason that just comes out of nowhere. And all of a sudden it's super stormy and there's just jagged rocks where the island is. And he ends up crashing there and he almost drowned. But of course, his dad is alive and saves his life and pulls him out of the water. And they make up or they hug and embrace each other. And they're like, Dad, of course I came to save you and everything. And for some reason, their love undoes this evil spell on this island that is just randomly there, I guess. It makes the island nice and, the storms and everything just go away and everything's so peaceful. So they're able to get off the island, which was very random in my opinion. I was like, why is this happening? And they get off the island and they go back to the kingdom and everyone shows up, almost everyone. There's a lot of characters missing, but Odette's there, Princess Alberta, and it's a nice little reunion moment and everything like that. And then they sing a song about welcome home or whatever, And the movie ends with King Maximilian and his wife becoming members of the Council of the Crown again, and Derek and Odette, and just like, we're gonna make life better. And then ends. The final scene is them bringing up the story of the Swan Princess, and Maximilian's just like, well, I've heard it from Derek, but I want to hear it from you, Odette. So she's like, okay. They're walking down the hall, and she's like, okay, Dad, I'll tell you a story. And she's like, can I call you Dad? And he's like, of course you can. And that's where it ends, which I kind of like that moment. They kind of try to bring it back to the beginning with the original story, where she tells it. She doesn't tell it, but she's about to tell it. So I did like that moment. But like I said, I have a lot of problems with this movie. It's a basic storyline. They focus a lot on hiding their identities in this movie. Like, there's a whole scene where, like, they go to the Council of the Crown. It comes out that they're disguised as magicians. Sorry, and it comes out that they're the Queen, Odette, and Derek are the magicians in disguise. So they put a lot of effort into hiding that. So they go to the Council of the Crowns to sing him a song and everything. And they get a fake Derek to come in. They're like, okay, the magicians must not be him, which is just kind of random. I'm just like, don't really need to bring it up that they're in disguise. They didn't need to be discovered. So I just kind of feel like they wasted time on that. And also, for some reason, they're like super good at magic. Like, they put on simple parlor tricks, or I'm like, okay, simple parlor tricks they can do, smoke bombs and coin tricks and everything like that. But when they sing the song to the council, they're like legit using magic and making like holograms of themselves as the king and queen and everything. And I'm just like, how is this even possible? They like literally float up in the sky, and I'm just like, how is this working? I guess it doesn't matter. Magic exists, but it's just kind of random. Anyway, like I said, there's a lot of things that just kind of take up the runtime, where I feel like it could have been more involved in the story. Like, the whole like hiding their identities I felt unnecessary. They could have just been in disguise and it could have worked. So, whatever. Like I said, it's a fun, basic movie. It works. It's a 5 out of 10. There's nothing super wrong with the series. If you love the Swan Princess movies, definitely check it out so you can watch the final one in this, this timeline with these characters, or these versions of the characters before they reboot it or whatever they decide they're going to do. So if you watched it, did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you ready to see a brand new version of these characters, a brand new story, maybe a bigger budget, big in theaters, blockbuster type movie? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.